Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. Today we're back on the Updates groundbreaking dev server, and it's time to have a look at a new Soviet light tank which is coming in. This is the 2S25M. This is the update, or upgrade I should say, of the standard Sprut that we actually got last update, I believe. So the differences between this one and this one are quite significant actually. Generally the shape of them is exactly the same, as you can tell, but one of the things that does change between them is actually the engine, and I don't know whether this is a mistake or not. I'm not entirely sure, but the 2S25 actually has a more powerful engine than the 2S25M, even though they're exactly the same weight, they're exactly the same armor, but this one has less horsepower than this one. So I'm not sure if that's how it is. This one actually has a CHTZ2V062S, whereas the M variant has the UTD29. So this is a diesel variant with 2600 RPM, with this one only having 2000 RPM. So that's one of the major upgrades, which isn't as noticeable compared to some of the other ones. The other major upgrade is the optics that you find on the M. One of the problems with the 2S25 when it was first added was it only got access to NVDs, which I feel could have put a decent amount of people off. So it had good round, and also they lowered its reload at some point, so it actually is the more standard reload for a 125mm. For the 25M, what they did is they upgraded its night vision or night vision devices on it, so it now has thermals for the gunner and also tank commander, and the driver has NVDs as well. It's also a rank 1 upgrade, so it should be quite easy to get. The rounds as well get an upgrade, so you don't just get the 3BM42, which is the best round on the 2S25, you also get the 3BM46. So this has 532, 449, 308mm of pen, so that should be really nice for going through a ton of different targets. It also gets the laser rangefinder and also the 9M119, which is just a standard ATGM, doesn't have access to the tandem charge or anything crazy like that, like a lot of the other Soviet machines that you have. It does get stock heat, which sucks, but it also gets a HE, so if you want to try and derp people, you can do that too with the 125mm. I've seen a lot of people have quite a lot of success with that, but your main round's going to be the 3BM46 on this 125. It struggles a little bit with gun depression, especially since it's quite a tall vehicle, so won't be able to, get it down too far, and we'll talk about this little baby later. But the the 2S25M has decent turret rotation, and also what it gets on top of the thermals is this little gunner station at the top here, which has access to a 7.62mm. These things are quite interesting and definitely more of a modern technology that we've seen. If you've ever seen a modern Abrams, you'll see something similar to this. It's like a machine gun position, so the crew doesn't have to expose themselves to fire it. In game, probably the most prominent one is on the M60 AMBT that we have in the game. You can see this big system here with the 25mm, and also in the cupola you've got the 50 cal as well. So on the 2S25M, it's no different. So obviously you're not going to be penning too much stuff with this, but what you might be able to do with this is maybe harass something which is in the air, or maybe mark a target if you've missed your scout. Because remember, this thing is a light tank, so it does get access to improved optics, and also the airstrike ability also gets artillery support. So it gets all of the different modifications and mechanics that are in the game. It gets access to smoke as well, only 6, but will be enough to reposition. One of the things about this vehicle is it also goes backwards at a decent click. 20.4 kilometers an hour may not seem like a lot, but when you're used to Soviet traverse, it's not bad. You can get out and into positions as you want. 3-man crew as well, with the standard autoloader on the 125, standard reload as well, and 40 rounds. It also has the horizontal little rack instead of the vertical one. This one is much more survivable than others that you see, and it is more It is more similar to what you see on the T72, which has the horizontal rack, at least what I call it, whereas when you compare it to, I believe it's the T64, yeah, it has this vertical rack, which is way more pronounced and way easier to hit. So at least from that angle, it is a little bit more survivable. Obviously, you're not going to take all of these extra pieces of ammunition and all of these as well, so it should be not too bad, especially with a first stage ammo storage of 22. So even though this thing is not well armored, you know, it has only like 20 millimeters and 40 millimeters of armor in places. What will happen, and this actually happened quite a lot when I was playing stuff like the Roycat MTTD, people will just shoot straight through you because they're using APF SDS. So they'll shoot like in this area where there isn't normally ammo because this is extra ammo, and it'll just go straight through. Same with like shooting through here, or shooting through here, shooting through here. So the survivability of this thing is more about the fact that there's a lot of empty space inside once you don't take that extra ammunition. So that is a key factor when it comes to the survivability of these things. It's why certain vehicles are really, really annoying to kill compared to others. The Class 3P comes to mind. It should get overpressured though, so artillery, AGMs, stuff such as heat and HE should be able to, you know, annihilate it pretty easily. It does get all of the camos that you know and love from the Soviet side of things, even the late green one, which is really nice, but I also think is pretty busted in the game just because at least for me I struggled to see it and compare it to like dead tanks. So I think there's a dead tank and then it starts shooting at me, so it's a little bit odd, but yeah. So as I said, the main upgrades for this thing are the 3BM46, which is really nice to see, and also the thermals. Everything else is pretty standard on the vehicle. If you like the standard sprut, and I forgot I should show you where it is in the tech tree, even though it should be obvious, but you know, it's best to do that. If you like the standard sprut, or if you like the light tank gameplay from the Soviets, you're going to love this one. You can see it's at rank 7 after the 2S25, so it's going to be quite expensive, end-of-line vehicle. You know, modification cost is going to be high, but at least it means that doing the standard sprut should be easier to do, which is quite nice. Now, at 10.0, you do have a decent lineup as well. You got the T72B 1989, which is getting the scoop, the T80B as well, which is also getting the scoop, so you can play around with the dozer blade mechanics and just have a pretty baller lineup. It's not a top tier lineup, but you got to remember, when it comes to vehicles like this, what you end up getting is a vehicle which is able to play, you know, differently to a standard MBT, gives you a bit more mobility around the place, and also is amphibious. So even with the extra upgrades, they don't add any weight to the machine, or at least I should say no significant weight to the machine. So you can still go into the water, it still has the little dozer blade, and you can still wander around. Now, generally going into the water doesn't actually give you any advantage most of the time, but it's just a nice little mechanic to have, so you can just motor around. You know, you can catch people off guard like this Bradley. He has no idea that we're in the water here, and the round itself unfortunately got stuck on the engine, which is a problem that the Soviet rounds have had for a while now. If you didn't know, stuff like the 3BM60, at least for the longest time, was really underperforming, because it at least felt like I might be wrong about this, but it felt like it was penetrating and then just getting stuck on stuff, so not doing post-pen damage as well compared to other things. So we can get up here too, using the engine that this thing has. So yeah, the 3 massive upgrades, thermals, as you can see, Gen 2 at least on the vehicle, and not just for the gunner but also for the commander. They do have the commander mode as well, so either the gunner or commander can control the gun. So if the gunner gets taken out, you know, you can still aim with the commander, which is really nice. Or you can use it, you know, whenever you want, because of the fact that, you know, the commander view is up here, so you can technically hide a lot of the tank to be able to fire if you get used to that stuff. You can see the little machine gun on the top. I don't think it's really going to do anything, It's just going to be good for like spotting targets. And then you have the smokes. So you have access to 2 loads of 3, which should be fine to hide the vehicle. You can see the plumage is okay, it's not the best, but it'll be generally quite fine on it. Facing a lot of vehicles, this gun will be completely fine. You know, when you get fully up-tiered, vehicles like this still can do okay with the 3BM46. It's I believe it's the round that the Type 90 had for the longest time. Can't remember if it still has it or not though. But these are the vehicles in game that I really enjoy. You know, vehicles which have access to high firepower and also good mobility, maybe not as strong in the armor department, but make up for that when it comes to its scouting ability and also its general versatility. Only issue, as I said, is gun depression, and also the elevation is not the fastest on this vehicle right now. You can see it takes ages to be able to get on, but the horizontal's okay, it's just the elevation is not there yet. I'm sure either that'll get changed, or if it isn't, then people will get used to it. I think in general, people enjoy this thing. I know the standard Sprut has been enjoyed quite a lot, and it'll be a good vehicle to add on top of the pre-existing vehicles themselves. Also at the same time, it has hydropneumatic suspension. So if you want to move around, like you do on stuff like the BMPs or the BMP3, you can do that too. Not too shabby. As always, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. I'd just like to thank Professor X 1718, Orange Tail, Sakoshi Tiger, BRFC 15, Teddy, John Ryman, Universe A, Eugens Terry, Ambrosius McClellan, Daniel Stanton, Martinez, B. Young, and then Kyle Kin, Bareen, Lafouche, and also Samuel Slick for supporting the channel.